Continuing on with the idea of forgiveness, I know it has been a little bit since I actually did anything, continue the series on forgiveness. As stated, if you have been keeping up with Shattered Mosaic, you'd have seen that since the moment and the time that I decided to start working with the idea of doing a series on forgiveness, man, life has become overwhelming. First coming to you and sharing a lot of things that have happened to me in my past with my being molested, and then also knowing some of the things that I'm probably going to be sharing of some other things in my life that have happened over the years really began to weigh heavy on me. And as I began to take a look at different things about forgiveness and what it is that I was feeling was the heartbeat of Shattered Mosaic and what we wanted to accomplish, because we could talk about forgiveness, and there are books and books and books about forgiveness. There are people that talk about forgiveness, people that counsel on forgiveness, and by no means am I the all-knowing authority on the actual act of forgiveness. But I really wanted to begin to really say, okay, what is it that we need to talk about? And I really sat back and looked at my life and in my heart and really looked at also what other things were being posted. And I know I've said it over and over, but I really appreciate you all. And there's been some great conversation on the Facebook page on forgiveness. There's been a lot of different things. I know that one of the other leaders, Ashley Cox, has been able to really, she shared her story on forgiveness and what God has done in her life. She's also posted some things there. Like I stated, there's been some discussion and banter back and forth throughout the website and what you guys are looking at. One of the things that I really began to think about is, let's look at it at a core example. So I took what I shared before in the introduction and what I've struggled with and the things I've gone through in my life, dealing with my molestation, and also dealing, as I grew up, I was bullied, and I had numerous times where I just didn't feel like I fit in, and I was made fun of, and I have numerous things in my life that people have done that I will share throughout this series that I had to come to a point to forgive. It wasn't easy, never is. And I would say that, as I stated before, I am not the master of it. I am not an expert at it. So what I thought is, what I wanted to do is, first and foremost, begin to take you through my journey of where I have forgiven and what brought me to those points. I grew up very religious, very in church from the moment that I was born, and heard message after message about forgiveness and about what the Bible says about forgiveness. But have you ever had a point where you hear these things and you hear all this noise and all these things where people say you should forgive, you should forgive, you should forgive, and there's this voice screaming inside your head, yelling out, shut up. I don't want to. I don't want to. I've been there. As I began to look back over my life, especially looking back at the molestation, before I had even began to review of how the being molested as a kid, how it affected me, I began to really take a look at, I mean, hey, they say forgive. And what is forgiveness? Forgiving, I heard over and over, forgiving means to forget and let be. Well, I don't want to let be, and I don't want to forget. And in reality, letting it hold here and stay here was, to me, what I thought was a way that I could protect myself from being hurt again, because I could always remember what had happened. I will never return to that again. And so inside, so many times, screamed out, I don't want to forgive. I don't want, so shut up. You don't know what I've been through. You have no clue. And you know what? I don't know what you've been through. I don't know the life you've lived. Don't know how it's affected you. And you know what? You may say, well, Nate, I really had a great life. It really wasn't that bad. And when I look at what other people have gone through, I can't really complain even though things have affected me. Well, this is one of the things I want you to understand. Every single one of us go through different trials that to each and every one of us are unique. They affect us uniquely. So first and foremost, I don't want you to sit here and think, well, the things that have affected me, when I really take a look at what other people share, they don't seem that big, and so I don't know what to do with it. If it affected you in a negative way, however it may be, it's something you need to take a look at. And if it was done to you. So looking at this idea that I don't want to forgive, I want to hold on to it. And I read scriptures. I read in Matthew 18 where it says, Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? When he does something wrong, how many times? Hey, God, I can see Peter walking up and saying, hey, Jesus, hey, can we talk? Yeah, you and me, can we talk for a second? I can see Jesus. Okay, what's up, Peter? He's like, so I got a question for you. So if someone keeps doing something over and over, how many times should I have to forgive him? I mean, and there was obviously something behind this that was affecting Peter. And Jesus says, well, and Peter says, what, like up to 7 times? He's like wanting a number. And Jesus says, no, I tell you, not 7, but 77 times. I don't want to forgive. God, you're not getting it. I don't want to forgive. I don't. I can read verse after verse after verse. I don't care. Have you ever been there? Especially if you've grown up in religion or church or having a relationship, any type of relationship with God. Have you ever been to that point where you just go, I don't care. I know what you're saying, God. I hear it. I read it. I don't want to. I don't care. I've been there. I many times exist there. I look at God and say, yeah, I hear you. I don't want to do it. Don't want to. I came across a verse that says, that really spoke to me, and it's found in Ephesians 4, verses 31 and 32. And it says, get rid of bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind, compassionate to one another, forgiving each other as Christ forgave you. It began to hit. You see, when I growing up, when I allowed the things to stay here on me, in my heart, on my back, in my soul, when I allowed the things that have affected me negatively in my life that has been done to me by others, I kept it there. And we're going to look at why we keep it there. And we're going to look at forgiving ourselves first. But I want to address this key thing of why we should forgive, why we need to begin the journey, why we need to continue on the journey. Is when I realized these things, when I realized that I began to look at this stuff, when I didn't forgive and I kept all this stuff in, those who know me, those who have known me, I would venture to say if you were to ask my ex-wives, any of them, and yes, I do not shy away that I have been married 3 times, I will tell you, especially my first wife, if you were to ask her, how was it to be married to him? I can guarantee you she would say, she would probably use the words anger. She would probably use the words bitter. Pretty sure she'd use the words rage. I was angry, but had no idea why. Bitter, but had no idea why. I would rage. The man that most of you know today as Nathan Parks or as Nate Parks is not the man I was 20 years ago. As a young 19-year-old, when I first got married, I was angry, I was bitter, I was raging inside. And now I realize as you look at this verse, these are things that are tied. He says, but instead of having this, forgive. Could it be that the reason that we need to forgive, the reason that we should look into it is not for someone else, for the person we're forgiving, but instead for us? Because it ties into anger, bitterness, rage, stress. Not forgiving cannot just affect us. It cannot just destroy us, but it will destroy individuals, marriages, lives, relationships, our health. So I challenge you as we look forward, as we move forward with how do we forgive ourselves? That's the next thing I'm going to take a look at. What does it look like? Actually, no, I think the next thing I'm going to look at is what is forgiveness? What is it not? Because there's many misconceptions. But with it, I want you to understand the importance of why. Because it frees us. It loosens those chains of bitterness, anger, rage. It helps us with our health. It helps us get away from stress. Not get away from stress, but it can take the things that we don't even realize that being unforgiving affects. So we'll look at that next time. I hope that this gets you in that mindset. I know you may not want to forgive, but hopefully it helps you get in the mindset of understanding why we should forgive. Until next time, Mosaics, I appreciate you, and I thank you guys for taking time out to watch this and to pay attention.